Hello everybody, today we're here in Berlin, Kreuzberg, and we're going to interview the serial founder, Tobias. He's the founder of these 4 companies, and let's see what he's going to tell us. Hello everybody, today we're going to interview a serial entrepreneur from Berlin. His name is Tobias. He founded several businesses in Berlin. And Tobias, can you tell me something about yourself, who you are? When did you start?
Well, I started my first company back in 2001. That was an online agency, which is still working. It's Digra Media. That was, well, the story in front of that was that I started a bit of coding a couple of years before and worked for some clients that I just had privately. And then through an internship, I went into another online agency, and then I got offered a project manager job there, which I did for about a year. And from that point on, I thought, well, maybe I could do my own business, and did it with like 4 other friends and founded that company. And so that was my first business. Second one was in 2004. It's called Untitled SSL. It's a company that deals with SSL certificates and does authentication services for providers all over Germany and Austria and Switzerland to provide them with authentication services for making sure that people who want SSL certificates are really the ones who they say they are. So we do the background checks and documentation. And the third one is Zefly, which is a startup that is based on Digram is strong in creating digital processes, and we did that for a number of also big companies. And we always thought that information handling and content handling is something that is not really covered. There's a lot about chats. Everybody's chatting, but there's no good way to have a really good process to deal with content and produce content, collect content, share it in very flexible ways. And this is how we got to that point. And now we're working on this since 2014, and we've had several test rounds. We have rebuilt the platform a couple of times, and now we come to the point that we do the last build that we want to release publicly.
So when do you plan to launch Zefly?
Well, as we're in Berlin, I wouldn't do it like with the airport, you know. So I don't say much. I say this year, but this is what my plan is. But currently, we're in the phase where we evaluating all the things that all the plans that we have and bring that into a scheduling.
You had several other businesses. Would you, if an investor would come and would give you funding just for the startup, would you take it or would you just build it by yourself?
Well, it depends a bit. Well, this next step, we're going to take it alone, and then it really depends on what's going to happen, because it's something that can achieve quite a big relevance if it really works. But it could be that it needs more power in order for marketing or whatever. If that is the case, we will have to take in investment. If we can get it rolling just through like some social media stuff and so on, and then everything else that we do, then I guess we're not going to need too much investment very soon. So, because we have the capacities, we have the knowledge, and so on. So I think that we're in a quite good position to go quite a long way by ourselves.
In the early 2000s, you founded your first company with 4 friends, right? Where did you meet them? Or with friends from school?
Well, one is a very close friend of mine, and the other ones were 3 people who already founded another company before, a couple of years. And the contact came through that other friend. So we met them and we discussed about what they're doing and we're doing, and we thought that we could do something together. And then we matched that, and this is how it started. So I didn't really know them so well. So maybe it's also not good if you're really close friends with everybody that you found a company with. It's not always good. So sometimes it's easier when you can really fight with each other.
Do you think your workday is different than just a normal workday of an employee?
Yes, absolutely, because the workday is not defined by the time that I spend in the office. It's not just you go to your office and you leave and it's done. It's never like that, because you're responsible for everything and for everyone, and you must make sure that everything works. So your thoughts are months ahead of everything. So I guess that's the main difference.
And what do you think are your biggest challenges for Zefly right now in the next 12 months?
I guess the biggest challenge is myself, because I have to, in my head, everything is done and finished, and I have to find a way to translate that to everyone who executes, to everyone who is involved in it, and keep them on track and so on. I think this is the biggest challenge, and of course to keep inside a time frame and so on, all these more technical things. But keeping yourself on track, I think, is the key to everything, because only then you can have everybody else follow and do the things that they should.
Why did you start in Berlin, or did you start your other companies in Berlin? What is the history about it?
The history is just that I grew up in a small town, so in Göttingen, which is in Niedersachsen, and then I went here in 1991. So just the war was just gone, and everything was quite wild and open, and so this is why I came here, and so my career started here, and that's just the main reason. It's just by chance that the whole startup thing was also starting here in Germany very much, and that's the main reason. And I think it has a great infrastructure, and has many people here from all over the world. So you can meet many different people. People are easy to get here. They don't say, oh, I don't come to Berlin. What should I do? They say, okay, when should I come? So it's a good place to be here when you do such things.
Do you think that your school education helped you with your businesses?
Well, I learned languages, of course, that helps, but for the rest, not so much, not the physics or chemistry. I don't do anything with that. And I'm very bad in mathematics, so...
And how did you find out to found your company, make the company contract and all the tax things? And
Well, of course it was good to have some co-founders who already did that once before, so they had some things which we could look at, and then we went to a lawyer and discussed all these things. And so I think looking back, I would think I should have done that much more in a way, because there are so many different aspects that you never think about. Even if a company gets old, I mean, my first company is now 15 years old, and at some point you have to think about what happens when you die. And this is somehow in the contract, but it doesn't really fit in a way. So there are so many different things that you don't think about. Or what happens when you leave the company or someone else leaves. And there are so many different aspects when you just found a company the first time. You just want to do things. You don't think about contracts. Everything is just your friends and everything is fine. But you have to think about the things which can get difficult when you're not friends anymore, maybe, or when you have a fight, or when you are ill, or you have to leave the company for some reason. And all these things need to be somehow clarified. And it should be done in advance. There should be some kind of process for it, because it makes it much easier.
Could you give an advice to people out there who are young and will build their own company about this topic, the contract and things?
Well, the main advice that you shouldn't think that the situation is with the people that you're founding the company will ever be the same. It's going to change. They're going to change. Their life's going to change. Your life's going to change, and you're probably not going to be friends anymore. And so you have to think through scenarios about this. If they want to do the company and I don't want to do it anymore, what's going to happen then? How do we separate these things? This is very important because it can take you give a lot of trouble, because such a company contract is worse than a marriage. So it's like a marriage of like 3, 4, 5, 6 people or so, and it's really a hard thing.
Let's talk about the Berlin ecosystem. How do you hire people in Berlin?
Well, it depends whom you want to hire. There are, of course, a lot of people who are trying to support you with finding people. But in the ecosystem, especially in the startup ecosystem, you have a lot of Facebook groups. You have special platforms like Startup Jobs or something like this. Then I also went to an accelerator program with the startups, so I met a couple of people there, which are also very well connected. Then, of course, a starting point are your own employees, of course, if you have already, because they also know other people. Then you can go to different meetups and so. So it depends. If you have money to solve a problem, it's easier. If you don't have the money, it can take more time, but it's general. And the special thing in the Berlin ecosystem is that you have many people from abroad, coming from other European countries, also from America, Eastern Europe, and so on. So you have to think about how to integrate people that don't speak German. It's easier to find qualified people if you don't need the language for communicating to a German-speaking audience. You have a much wider selection of people. If you require German, you have a much bigger problem.
Would you think Berlin is quite international, or should you start your company in English or in German if you would start your startup?
Well, it is quite international. I mean, I see a bit of a problem in German mentality in some way, because with our topic for our company, for our platform, many people don't get it here if you explain it, because they still think in islands of different products, and it's difficult for them to explain, no, you don't need all that, you can just use one thing for everything, and it gives you a whole flow. In Britain and the US, the people understand that much quicker. So we went to conventions there and so on. We talked to people there, and you get much better feedback there. So they're much more open to concepts which are not like standard or just something they already know. In Germany, people adapt much easier to things that they already know. Oh, it's an online shop, it's a delivery service. They get that. But if it's something more complex, it's a problem. And this is the main difference that I see. But from the people, it's quite international, so the people that you meet here.
You said you went to conventions or startup events. Mm-hmm. To which one did you attend, and did it help you?
Yes, we went to Web Summit in Dublin twice. We were in Las Vegas for Collision, for example, and we met a lot of people there from different backgrounds. It was very interesting that in Dublin there were much more people from Silicone Valley than in Las Vegas. So, and yeah, we made a couple of contacts there. There's one guy also supporting our team from whom we met there, and this former guy from Apple, and so he's one of those. We met a few people who were interested in investing, some people that we also worked with in the concept part, and they were bringing in ideas and so on that from their experience. For example, from the investment experience, there were many people that could tell us things that we didn't hear here in Berlin in a way, because it's a different ecosystem. And they have different backgrounds, and so this was helpful to decide how to go on.
What about the accelerator? What did you learn there?
Well, the accelerator was important to understand what really differentiates a startup from a normal company, because I formed like two normal companies that just grew organically. But a startup is not intended to grow organically in this way. You're intending to build something big, something relevant, and something that you need money from other people. So if you take that money from first how you get it, then how to explain yourself, and to understand that you also take the responsibility for that money. And you take the imaginations of these people who are investing. You have to adapt to that, and you have to understand that you might not work on your own vision anymore. It's not just your thing. There is something else in it, other people with other ideas, and they want to also have some kind of reflection in it, or they may think that you're on a different or false track or something like this. And all of this is a huge difference to a company that you just build up step by step by yourself, because you're the only one responsible, maybe together with your friends that you founded it with, but that's it. But like this, you can have lots of money in it from people that you maybe met twice or so, and they just communicate with you by phone, Skype, whatever. And some are very good in giving you the idea that they know everything such a lot better than you, but have no clue about the product. So this is like a very difficult thing to stick to your idea and to really be sure about what you're doing.
So do you think the mindset of the people in Germany is different than maybe in Silicon Valley or even Dublin or London?
Yes, it's definitely because they're not so much open to think about things they don't know already, and that if it's something that is existing that comes from there, it's easier. So, but if it comes from here, it's different. People will say, well, the Americans do it, or you can't do it. You're too small. You're not smart enough. I don't know. There are lots of reasons. They believe in their kind of Mittelstand and industry thing, and that's what they understand. And in the pure startup field, it's more like, oh, just do what already works. So what Rocket Internet does, and so just copy things from other people. That's something that they understand. But if you do something really genuine, that's a problem.
So it's hard to get German investors for a new thing, and
generally they would invest when they see it already works. So if you have like a big goal, if there's a big hurdle in it, you have to go that by yourself. Nobody will give you anything.
So if you want to start in Germany and want German investors, you need to have the proof of the concept first and some first customers to get investment there.
Yeah. You have to be in place with everything. Then you have to have the platform, the users, everything must be in place. You must be in business. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. And then in that case, of course, it depends on your concept. If you have an easy concept, something that is easy to prove, then of course it can work quickly. But if you want to do something that is more complicated and bigger, and so that's a big problem.
And how do you learn all these things? Do you read books, or do you read online magazines or newspapers?
More like I read magazines. I read some books about the big people from Silicon Valley and so. But it doesn't help me too much in my everyday life, because I think the first what I learned is first you have to understand yourself, how you function and how you function with other people. Because if you're unable to understand that, you cannot translate. You cannot translate what you want to do and what the goal is. And if you can't do that, there is no chance to go anywhere. So this is like the hardest part, because you always have a different conception about yourself. then the reality is, and this is very, very important to understand first, because then you can start to execute. And I think this is why people like Steve Jobs also are said to be so rude and so strict and so, because they didn't take the time to explain, because it doesn't make sense. You can't explain everything to everyone. Sometimes you just have to say it's this. And this is also something that is a learning process in an environment, especially in the startup ecosystem, where everybody says, okay, we're going to play kicker and everything is nice. And then somebody comes and says, you have to do this now. Wow. So this is a different kind of culture thing.
So communication is quite important.
Yeah, it's the main thing. Nothing works without communication. And it's the hardest job of all. So.
Do you think you have a role model, or you had a role model when you found the companies?
No, not really. Today I would say I just stepped into it and that was it. So I wouldn't say there was like a big plan behind it. It was just that it was the usual concept, I can do it better than my boss, you know. That probably most people have. The only thing in my case where I really did it then, so I really changed the situation. Most people don't do that. And so this is, so I guess that was the point. And then I tried it out, and then I went against the same walls as he probably did before. So it's, yeah, no, there was no big role model or anything by that time.
What do you think about regret? Do you regret anything, or do you have some big failures that you came over with, and how did you do this?
Well, so far the really big trouble didn't come. There were minor ones where I had learnings out, so that was not to, when there are important things, not to pull too far out of it. So to keep an eye on really on the priorities, to really concentrate on priorities and look into them and see if that they are really working. That's like the main learning, I guess.
Thank you for the interview. I really enjoyed it. You gave a really great insight about what is it about to found a company and a startup in Berlin. I hope the viewers out there also enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments.